JBN, we keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones, and in the news, 2 men shot in Elgin Town, Hanover. The Lucy police in Hanover were earlier searching for clues at a crime scene in Elgin Town, where 2 men were shot and injured by armed men on Friday morning. It is reported that shortly after 8 a.m., the 2 men were walking along a dirt track, which leads to their home, when they were ambushed and shot multiple times by armed men. The gunmen escaped on foot in the area. The police were summoned, and the wounded men rushed to the Noel Holmes Hospital in Lucy. Last week, there was another murder in the community. The incident took place a few feet away from the entrance of the community, where a man was shot to death. In that incident, 20-year-old Delano Hines was shot to death while riding his motorcycle. The killing is believed to be gang-related. Yorkassa High mourns death of student killed in crash. The Yorkassa High School is mourning the death of one of its promising fifth-form students, 16-year-old Gianna Harris-Kiani from Droxall in St. Anne. The teenager died from injuries sustained in a motor vehicle crash along the Bull Point Main Road near Mystic Mountain in Ocho Rios on Wednesday evening. This devastating incident has left the school community in total shock and overwhelmed with grief. We cannot even imagine the pain that the Kiani family is currently experiencing because of this tragedy, the school's principal Raymond Treasure said. Jen has been deeply involved in the life of the school, and she's going to be missed by all. It is our prayer that God will provide healing and the answers to our questions at this time, as we will try to come to terms with the loss of this exceptional Yorkist and daughter. The police report that about 6:30 p.m., the teen was traveling towards St. Anne's Bay in a vehicle which failed to keep left. It collided with the left section of a Toyota Wish motor car, then overturned. Kiani was flung from the vehicle, which fell on top of her, resulting in injuries to her head. She was transported to the St. Anne's Bay Hospital, where she died. Jamaican woman shot dead at Florida home. A Jamaican-born woman was found shot to death at her home in Port St. Lucie, Florida, on Tuesday. The deceased has been identified as 45-year-old Carisha Brissett. Relatives told WPTV News in Florida that Brissett migrated from Jamaica to Florida several years ago. Reports are that Brissett's body was found by the Port St. Lucie police late Tuesday morning after a friend had gone to her home following her failure to turn up for work. The friend later discovered that the back sliding glass door was shattered and raised an alarm. According to the media report, officers found 13 spent shell casings on the back patio of the house. They theorized that Brissett was shot and killed through the sliding glass door without her attacker entering the building. Sergeant John Della Croce of the Port St. Lucie police told the media that the evidence so far suggested that the murder was a targeted crime and not a random act of violence. Meanwhile, Brissett's cousin, Karine Samuels, told WPTV News that the Jamaican had lived in Florida for approximately 10 years and recently moved into her house in Port St. Lucie. We both grew up in Jamaica, migrated to the U.S., so I knew her my whole life, Samuel said, adding that one would have never expected Brissett to be killed in that manner, as she was very religious and very into her church. She appealed to people to help her family bring her cousin's attackers to justice. The Port St. Lucie police have also made a similar appeal for information to arrest those involved in the killing. 290 pounds of ganja seized in Old Harbour. Barbadian among 2 arrested. A Barbadian is among 2 people arrested in connection with the seizure of over 290 pounds of compressed ganja at a house in Old Harbour, St. Catherine on Thursday. Reports are that sometime after 8 p.m., members of the St. Catherine South Police Division conducted operations in the Spring Village community in Old Harbour, where a house was searched, and 11 bags containing the compressed ganja were seized. The St. Catherine South Police have ramped up operational activities across the division as the Yuletide season approaches, according to Superintendent Upton Nicholson, acting divisional commander for the St. Catherine South Police Division. The St. Catherine South Police will continue to carry out operational activities, and putting a dent in the illicit drugs for guns trade between Jamaica and other islands is one of our major objectives. Persons involved in this illicit trade will continue to be targeted so as to reduce the opportunities for persons to carry legal guns into the island, he said. Court overturns murder conviction in slaying of 11-year-old boy. The Court of Appeal has issued an order to overturn the 2016 conviction of Russell Sams, who was found guilty and serving time for the 2012 shooting death of 11-year-old Ricardo Dove as he slept at home. According to reports at the time, at approximately 11:26 p.m., Ricardo, his younger brother and their father Robert were asleep at their home when the father heard what sounded like gunshots coming from outside. The frightened father rushed into his son's room, where he had intended to tell them to get down on the floor in the hope of getting them out of the line of fire. However, on entering the boy's room, he discovered that Ricardo had been shot and was bleeding. When the shooting subsided, the police were alerted and went to the scene. Ricardo was rushed to the hospital by the police, but was pronounced dead on arrival. A retrial is to take place in the Westmoreland Circuit Court, where the matter was first heard. In the ruling, which was finalized on November 26, a panel of appellate judges, Justices Frank Williams, Jennifer Straw, and Christiania Brown Beckford, agreed that Sam's appeal should be granted on the grounds that the presiding judge at his trial had blundered in the management of evidence used to convict him. The learned trial judge made a fatal error in admitting evidence that was highly prejudicial to the appellant without any comment or directions to the jury. This requires that the conviction be quashed and the sentence set aside. The interests of justice required that a retrial be ordered, the appellate judge's ruling stated. No date was recommended for Sam's retrial. Sams was convicted of Dove's murder on February 19, 2016, and is sentenced 2 months later to life imprisonment. The court had then stipulated that he would be eligible for parole after serving 25 years. On April 20, 2016, 4 days after the sentence was handed down, Attorney Jacqueline Cummings filed an appeal on Sam's behalf, citing discrepancies and inconsistencies in the prosecution's case. The application pointed to prejudicial statements in the eyewitness account during the trial and the absence of a scene of crime compact disc from the evidence which was available at that time. During the initial trial, evidence was given by prosecution witness Robert Dove, the father of the accused, who stated he saw Sams in the family yard on the night of May 7, 2012, when his son was killed. However, in an unsworn statement in his own defense, Sams argued that he had been at his girlfriend's house for several hours on the day of the incident, and that he had been in an extended telephone conversation with her following that visit and was at home thereafter. He also stated that he did not own a gun and denied having killed anyone. Additionally, Sam's defense pointed to the unreliability of the witness identification, particularly the quality of the lighting on the night of the killing and inconsistencies as to whether there was a light on at the home at the time the incident occurred. In submitting Sam's appeal, Cummings pointed to the lack of forensic evidence, different dates in the witness statement, discrepancies in the length of time the witness claimed to have seen Sams, and the presence of bloodstains outside the house, albeit the deceased was killed in his bed. It was also submitted that Sam's defense attorney at his trial had not properly presented his case before the jury, having failed to cross-examine Robert Dove with information suggesting that he had been charged with shooting at Sams and therefore had a motive to lie against the defendant. Second of 3 phones used to record alleged Wandon gangsters admitted into evidence. The Crown, in the trial of the 33 alleged members of the St. Catherine-based Wandon gang on Thursday, registered another victory, with the second of 3 cellular phones being entered into evidence. The gadget is one of 3 devices that the state is counting on as part of the body of evidence in the case against the alleged gangsters. Another device was entered into evidence on November 25. A former gang member turned Crown witness had testified that he turned over to the police 3 phones, 2 of which were given to him by the cops, with recordings of conversations between himself and members of the gang, including leader Andre Blackman Bryan. He said he downloaded a call recording app to tape multiple cell phone conversations which were also saved. He forwarded the recordings to cops when the memory became full. The third handset, which has only so far been marked for identification, has not yet been accepted by the court after 3 tries on the part of the Crown. This, as the lead investigator in the case, when handed the gadget, said he was unable to open the device to retrieve the unique identification number stored inside. He said prior to the trial, he had accessed that number by dialing a particular series of digits on the phone, which would then produce that number. He was, however, unable to utilize the dial-up feature at the time because the phone had not been charged. On Thursday morning, the prosecution again was said to have the detective access the gadget, which had been charged by the court's registrar. They, however, encountered another roadblock when it was revealed by the detective that the phone had been locked with a pin, presumably by the witness, and he was unfamiliar with that code. Based on his not being able to prove that the identification number he had recorded in his notes was the same one attributed to the phone, the attempt to have the gadget entered as evidence failed. And the prosecution Thursday afternoon wrapped its evidence in chief of the lead detective, who has been on the stand since last Wednesday. 65 new COVID cases in Jamaica, 4 more deaths reported. Jamaica reported 65 new COVID-19 cases and 4 deaths on Thursday, December 2, bringing the infection total to 91,369 and total deaths to 2,406. According to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the new cases comprised 37 females and 28 males with ages ranging from 4 days to 84 years. The cases were recorded in St. Anne 18, Kingston and St. Andrew 16, St. Catherine 12, St. James 8, Manchester 4, Trelawney 2, Clarendon 1, Hanover 1, St. Elizabeth 1, St. Mary 1, and St. Thomas 1. The deceased are an 85-year-old female from St. Elizabeth, a 64-year-old male from St. Catherine, an 85-year-old female from Kingston and St. Andrew, and a 61-year-old male from Kingston and St. Andrew. In the meantime, 45 more people recovered in the last 24 hours, bringing total recoveries to 62,747. Currently, 130 people are hospitalized, 15 of which are severely ill, while 8 are critically ill and 30 are moderately ill. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.